Hey, Rita.
Hello.
Are you coming to KubeCon, Rita?
Yeah.
Cool. I want to see you in person, say hi.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah. Let's definitely text each other on Slack.
Yeah, if there is an email or something, that would be. I'm sure Max has your email, so I'll
Mhm.
just. Max, did you book your KubeCon thing? Max is on mute. He's figuring out.
Hello.
Bye.
Hinilik.
Hello.
All right, shall we start? Are we good? Wake up, everybody. Yay, come on. It is kind of early-ish for West Coast. Not really, but
My audio is completely off.
Yeah.
I
Shall
was
we?
like, what? Huh?
shall we get started? It's 8 minutes past.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Agenda item, I just put sort of like a recap of the hackathon in case anyone wants to read up on the outcome of that and the code. But this is more for future reference, right? So let's move on to Sertash. 3.10 release.
Yeah, I think we are past 2 months for the next release. Do we want to include any other PRs before we cut it?
I think there's a few home chart related things, and then there's also the stuff that Davis has. Ideally, we would want those to be in, right?
I suppose it depends on the timeline for getting them in. Enforcement action override is okay, so it's already approved by me. Are there any? Have you guys read it? Are there any objections to it?
It's on my to-do list.
Yes, I have not looked at it yet. So it sounds like we want those included, right? 2277 in 76.
All things being equal, if it's going to take another set of months to review them, then probably best cut the release. But hopefully that's not the case this time around.
I mean, or do we want them to bake? Because if we cut it with those ones, they'll be released immediately.
There's also like there's also another bug that I would like to address before we create another release. I just put it in the chat. So let me put it in the milestone, I guess.
Yeah, please do.
Do we have a 3.10? Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we do. We are past 9 days.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, I am adding the expansion template ones to the release then, to the milestone.
Uh-huh.
And then I guess we'll add the Helm chart ones too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's add them. So like 4?
I mean, do we want to add 2294 to the release? Nobody reviewed it yet.
2294, let's see.
This is the Helm chart additional selectors thing. I don't know what this is.
Mm. I mean, if we could, if it happens to be available before we cut, maybe, but I don't know if it should be blocking.
Okay, let's not add this one then. Right.
Yeah. Is there any other issues or PRs that we want to make sure is in?
So, by the 2294. Wait, did we want to have this in? Sorry, I was busy
We
figuring out what it was.
said it shouldn't block.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
If it gets reviewed before it, sure, why not? But it shouldn't block.
Yeah, I added 2290 because it already got an approval, but not 94.
Got it. Yeah. Looks good to me. Wait, and 2229, I guess. It's really close, right?
22.
I mean, that's a doc,
It's
but
a
That's
doc.
right,
recently
yeah.
docs
That's
changed.
unrelated. Yeah.
Okay, so not blocking.
Yeah,
Okay.
because we have version docs. We
Right,
can-
right. Okay,
But-
that's fine. Any other? I mean, look at the issues with the bug label. So many. Uh, mm,
Rita, you added 2261.
Which one? 22 to the milestone, you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
webhook server search being rotated unexpectedly.
Yeah. That one is because the external data feature flag. I think it's like a Helm chart thing. So we
Oh.
just need to make sure, yeah, all the details is in the issue. I think it should be an easy fix. But I think ideally that one should even be cherry picked back to 3.9.
Which number is this?
20.
I also pasted in the chat
Ah,
if that
thank
helps.
you.
Yeah, so it's just the flag.
So this is setting that flag on audit as well if users configure
right.
Helm to disable cert rotation.
Yeah, I don't know, but cherry picking is for 3.9. That can get messy with the Helm charts. But depending on the- it doesn't
No,
actually-
I think this is just like you see the if condition, right? Wait, hold on. Never mind. Sorry.
This is the what Max said.
Yeah, never mind.
I don't understand why it's external data related.
Because, and I don't know if we need to like get into this for the purpose of the discussion, but external data added TLS certs to audit. And as part of that, cert rotation is being enabled in audit as well. So with that update, people unexpectedly were having cert rotation be enabled, right? This is because of that MTLS change.
Yeah, so either we change that conditional, or we in the code, or we explicitly add the disable cert
Right.
rotation.
And we
But
don't want to change the conditional. If someone just deploys audit and wants to use external data, they'll need the cert rotation for that.
right. So it's a conditional on the chart, I guess.
Was it?
It's a conditional on the chart. So if you use external data, then anyway.
Yeah. I think the lesson here is try not to be smart about what functionality is enabled and what's not. Just give the knob to the user, and they can adjust things to match their footprint. So that previous if statement that got removed is was probably an unforced error.
So Sartash, you said you don't think we should cherry pick back?
I don't know if we can. The Helm chart changes get pretty messy. Depending on what the fixed
The changes, okay. All right, let's discuss in the PR then. Let's not waste time on here.
I mean, the worst case, we can just do 310.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. But I think this happened in 3.9, yeah. Okay, I don't think there's anything else we want to wait on.
So what are we waiting on?
If you look at the 310 milestone, you should see everything.
Oh, we've created a milestone.
Yeah, I'll add it to the Google Doc now. Cool. Are we good with this? Any other questions?
Nope.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is the mutation stable milestone. I think we are also done with all the items in the mutation. It's 100% complete now.
I guess.
I will add this to the.
So, yeah, the risk with turning mutations stable, I would say it depends on whether we are comfortable sticking with convergence as a hard requirement. Because if we call it stable, I think, you know, our interface or our API is a promise to a couple of people here, right? And so for platform providers, the convergence guarantee is a promise, right? Because it allows them to not worry about what resources are getting created when. It's not going to cause aberrant behavior at the admission time, right? Even if it's creating bad mutation results like invalid objects. So if we want to signal that that's a property we want to maintain, sure. If we want to rethink that, we should rethink that before we call it stable.
But to address the conversion problem, it would probably take a while, right? I'm guessing.
The convergence problem?
Yeah,
What do you mean address it?
I mean, I don't know if it's like address the like timeline wise, right? What are we talking about here?
Well, the system is already convergent, right? Like the way mutation is written right now, the system will always converge on an answer. The concern I would have is there are a couple of issues filed out there around mutation where satisfying those issues would necessarily break convergence. Anything that allows one field to reference another field, for instance, allows users to write a system of mutations that loops indefinitely. Anything that allows you to write a test on the contents of a field that is not metadata, right? Beyond exist does not exist, allows users to write a mutation system that recurses indefinitely. So the implicit shift would be whether we want to reserve the right to address those use cases or not. I'm leaning toward not, honestly, because like there are other options for writing arbitrary mutation codes. I don't think there are any other options for a converging mutation system. So it's a differentiator that we have, and also makes us safe to use us in places it may not otherwise be safe to use mutators. So I'm somewhat willing to sacrifice the use cases I've seen for that benefit, because a lot of these use cases are like trying to hard code heavy logic into mutation. That's maybe best done as a controller, or some sort of shift left pipeline, or frankly having better policies and requiring the input itself to be good, because some of this is like papering over missing required fields or things like that. Yeah, I don't know if people have questions or if that's inadequate.
So for example, like the assign metadata from, let's say another field, that one, like for example, we have one that says demo annotation owner. So you add a label to a metadata, but it's from the namespace field. Is that
So,
an example of not convergent?
you add a label, but it's from the namespace field. Actually, so assign metadata is a special case, because assign metadata only assigns something if it's missing and is limited to labels and annotations right now. Mainly it's the former that guarantees the convergence, right? Because assign metadata will only operate once and will only set a value if missing. The risk would be, and I could like try to find this in the mutation design doc, some of these like infinite loops, but you can design, it's basically a Turing machine, right? You could come up with 3 fields and just rotate a value between the fields every iteration. If you're allowed to, for instance, test only run mutator A if field B is set, only run mutator C if field A, and there's a way of chaining them. So that's what, that's an example of something that would be prevented that I've seen people ask for. Another one would be the ability to reference It's fine to reference metadata because, again, we're like setting metadata is fairly stable by requiring assigned metadata to only operate once. But if you wanted to, for instance, write something like set volume mount equal to volume name, that's referencing data across fields. And that kind of logic can also be leveraged to create infinite loops.
Got it.
I'm not saying that we can't add any more mutation functionality altogether, right? I still need to, like, there's the convergence proof doc I linked y'all a while back. I still need to put it in the docs section. I'll do that today. But it gives an example of the properties we rely on, which is basically like per field idempotence, inability to reference fields, a couple others. And so something like the ability to mutate a Docker image to replace the hash or the tag with a hash or what have you is probably fine, because essentially that is unpacking a struct and then repacking it. The only thing we would need there is like a type system to make sure we're not crossing boundaries. We're not treating the Docker image string also as, like, I don't know, some other serialized string. Let's say we build in the ability to mutate serialized JSON, which I think is another request that's out there.
I mean, it sounds like we need to make a decision. Do we want our current implementation, or do we want to satisfy those other scenarios?
Right. And I just want to emphasize that current implementation doesn't mean freezing it on ice. It just means that there are certain known cases that we just won't be able to solve.
Right.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think you've and by supporting those, you're introducing like convergence issues, then I think that's a pretty good argument against them.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's ever gonna change.
I mean, can we introduce it like as separate from the current system, like under like a flag or something, maybe?
I would find it hard to, like, you would have two copies of the assigned CRD, perhaps at that point. We would need to watch out to, so non-convergence is also kind of like an emergent property of the set of mutators. Like, for example, I was talking about the Docker image one, and an implication of that is adding a type system, right, to make sure that only Docker image type assigns are applied to that field. And maybe there's some other assigns that play nicely with it. So trying to gate it under a flag might not be viable. Like, I could come up with a way to get it to work in the short term. I don't know if we would find ourselves in a place where it would become untenable, right? Where, okay, now we either need to like break this flag and break everyone using it, or not add this extra mutation feature. That would be my the risk I would see there.
I see. What about like I mean, this is worst case scenario. We could introduce like a V2 API, right? Which will include breaking changes. So we can call whatever we have today stable, right? And then we can still work in whatever the scenarios that we are not supporting today in part of like a future V2.
In Kubernetes parlance, it would probably be a different group entirely, just because the V2, V1 stuff needs to be backwards and forwards compatible. But we could do that and like just create a non-convergent mutations, but with a better name. .gatekeeper.sh.
I mean, mutation's been out for a bit. Have we gotten that many people asking for it? Right? So
every few months. There's an ask for some behavior
that requires that. Okay.
I might be overestimating the frequency. It's somewhere between every few months and like every 6-ish months. There's also other feature requests that we haven't worked on that we absolutely could implement. So some of it is just our attention is elsewhere.
Yeah. I think those can all be added later. I'm in favor of pushing mutation to stable. I don't think there's anything else that's preventing it other than what you just mentioned, which I think is a long-term thing anyway. It's not about the maturity of
Right.
mutation.
Well, it's a decision we want to make, or we should make, as to whether we are actually defending that position or just like doing the wait and see, which is what we've been doing. And the barrier is higher. Like we'll need to create a new mutation group if we want to
Right.
have non-convergence. So if we're fine with that, I'm fine with it. I just wanted to
That makes sense.
make sure we were all on board with that.
I mean, part of the wait and see was sort of to get feedback, right? For users to tell us how many people actually have use cases that require that. And I don't think we had I mean, to your point, there were some, but there weren't like a lot. To the point where I actually remember.
Yeah, I mean, if you want, we can like, you can, everything's tagged with mutation, the issues. So if you wanted to like double check before we pulled the trigger, I'm personally comfortable with it. I just want people to
makes sense.
be comfortable. Yeah, with make decisions from a point of clarity.
I mean, as long as I think we document it and then they know that, I mean, users know the limitations, I think that's fine.
Yeah. And even if, to your point, if like there's like a really good use case and a lot of people want it, then we could always, do a new API if needed.
Right. It would not be cheap, but we could do it.
Right. Okay. So do we say 2.3.10 mutation is stable? Is there anything else that's blocking it?
Well, we'd need to generate I'm assuming V1 resources. That's about it. That'd probably take like a week, let's say, just to buffer for the unexpected.
Okay. Should we do that as part of 3.10? Do you think?
If you're comfortable waiting a week.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds good. Let's create an issue for that one then.
Yeah, let me open it up.
You're doing it, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll do it.
Yeah, and let's add to the stable milestone and
Exciting. Why am I always the person that's like, and I didn't even have coffee yet. I mean, I don't.
Who's enthusiastic?
No,
I got distracted by a little furry black ball.
What?
Clearly, you are the only morning person today.
I'm not. I've just been up since like 7, so.
Oh.
6 something.
Yeah, why are you excited?
I'm not excited. There's just too many things to do, and I have to get them done. That's all.
This is one thing off the list.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. See, Sturgeon gets it.
I know.
It's like, yay, we get this done. I'm so happy. Okay, all right. I added the issue. Do we want to do an RC? Actually, don't we have RC already?
We do not have an RC. We have a beta.
Oh, I'm thinking of another project. I'm sorry.
How about we create an RC? Like, oh, I guess it would be much different. Okay, let's create an
Alright.
RC then. When
Sure.
we get everything done. Yeah, let's create an RC and then give it a week. So when then we can
Yeah,
do it. regular
That gives us time to finish other features, other blocking PRs as well. So. Well, but technically RC.
No, yeah, we shouldn't add any like bigger.
That's true. That's true.
I was gonna say let's create an RC today, but then that's.
No, not today.
I mean, we can create a new beta today if folks are okay with it.
Yeah, let's do that. Doesn't hurt, right?
Cool.
Uh,
I'll do that one.
It's been like a month. Yeah, it's been a month since the last beta.
Yeah.
So let's say maybe a week for RC to cut an RC, maybe. And
I mean,
then,
assuming everything gets merged.
yeah, assuming everything's burned, yeah. Okay. Given that, Milik, do you want to work on 2261? Just to help with the load here. I'll assign it to you. Sound good?
Yeah. Yep. Assign.
Thank you.
I'll take a look. It's been 2 years for me, by the way, since I
Huh?
looked at Gatekeeper. It's been 2 years for me since I looked at Gatekeeper code, but I'll get back into it.
Well, nothing like the present.
Sure. But yeah, I'll get that. I'll look into it.
Yeah, I just
Uh,
realized
It's
we don't have
just-
a. Oh, go ahead, Max.
It's just the Helm chart, fortunately. So there's
Yeah, it's not
not-
that bad.
It's not
Awesome.
Gatekeeper.
Good way to ease into it, I guess.
And let me know if you need help. And this is why I assigned it to myself at first. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, so we're good, right? Anything else?
You already assigned it to me, right? I didn't check.
No, I'm trying to find, I don't know if I can assign it to you. I think you have to comment
Yeah, you have to comment.
What's the number
the
again?
2261. It's in the chat too.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's the same one.
It would be kind of funny if you can just randomly assign to anybody else
Yeah, that's why I
with a GitHub handle.
can't do that. Yeah.
Sweet.
I just found that you cannot have
Just
an
comment.
issue in multiple milestones.
What?
You cannot have an issue in multiple milestones.
I guess that kind of makes sense. It's like make up your mind. Anyway,
I don't know. You can have an issue block multiple things. Write code is going to block all issues, all milestones.
I was going to add the mutation issue into the mutation milestone and 310, but you can't do that.
That is weird.
which issue?
The one you just created, the mutation stable one.
Oh, you wanted to put in the mutation milestone.
Yeah, we can't do
I
that.
see.
Can you add a
Oh,
milestone to a
It
milestone?
can only be on one. Yeah.
yeah, interesting. I mean, let's just use 310. 'cause
Yeah.
that's yeah.
Right.
Right.
Are we good with
Moving
this one?
on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I think the next one is from Nilik.
Yeah. So I've opened a PR for that Gatekeeper library directory structure for Artifact Hub. Sartash had like initial few comments. I've resolved them, but I would like to sort of have others also look at it. From the Artifact Hub side, those folks have already made the necessary changes and deployed them in the production. So as soon as we review and merge this PR, I will go ahead and publish all those policies on the Artifact Hub. And just FYI, like on staging, we already have those policies listed. So I have pointed to my current PR branch right now, and that's how it is now displaying all those policies on our staging one. So we can take a look at it and just see how it looks, and if you want to make any changes. Max, to your feedback earlier, right, about that in examples, we wanted to group them together, right? Like for a particular example, like constraint template allowed is allowed. So they made that changes, and they are also, I mean, we are good on that front as well. By the way, I have asked them to sort of render all this stuff based on suits.yaml. So they are also now targeting that as a source of truth, like we are doing for the website stuff.
Sorry, was that ask them to render which?
So so I told you, right, like the way Artifact Hub work is like they expect a particular directory structure, or they basically need something to work off of. So the directory structure that we have now is exactly what everybody else who wants to publish a policy under gatekeeper policy tag will have to adhere to. And that also includes the suits.yaml file, where we list, the different test cases and everything. So they are also taking that as a source of truth now.
Oh, the suite.yaml as a source of truth? Nice.
Yep.
Nice.
So we are asking them to work according to us and not the other way. And those guys are super helpful. Like I worked with that guy, I forgot his name, but he was super nice and quick to make these changes.
Yeah, so nice.
Yeah. And it's good to, there's only so much data you could store in a directory structure. So I think it's good to have something that is a bit more rich that you can put it in. So that's awesome. It sounds like, is it blocked on me reviewing yet? I was sort of waiting for Surtesh to give his thumbs up before I took a look.
I think Millet went through my changes. I'm gonna re-review again, and then you can take a look at it after that, Max, if you want.
Okay. Just to let you know where I'm at, so you're not wondering. So yeah, when I see the green, or just ping me if you want me to look at it before that.
I haven't gone through this PR yet, but I was just curious, like, so does that mean every time there is a change, it will update the files in the Artifact Hub directory? And does it generate a new hash?
Okay, couple things. So first of all, we have like a make target, and we have like a Go code that will generate the entire directory structure. So the way we have done it or designed it is, in the template under the annotations, we will be having a version. So every time we want to increment a version, we'll update that in that source template. So whenever we generate a new template, it will go into a regular directory structure. And I have a make target that I have created, which runs a Go code, which will go and figure it out if that version directory already exists or not. If it does not, it will create all that directory and copy the code that has been, or copy the policies that has been generated into the Artifact Hub directory structure.
So yeah, I just meant like, I see that the Artifact Hub PKG YAML file has a digest. So does that get updated every time there is a diff?
So that gets, so essentially that is a hash of the constraint template.
Okay.
And the reason we have that hash or that field digest in there is that's how Artifact Hub knows whether we want to refresh anything on the site or not.
Sure.
So if anything changes, it will get updated.
Go ahead.
The way I've written the code is like I check if the PKG file exists or not, and I don't touch any field if the file already exists. But what I do is I always compute the hash and assign. So if it's the same hash, well and good, there will not be any diff. But if something change in constraint template, it will be a new hash, and then it will be automatically refreshed once we merge the changes.
Got it. Only when the constraint template changes. And does that bump the version too?
No, so bumping the version is something we have to do manually. So the idea is whenever we make a changes to a policy, we make a PR, right? So during the PR review, we make sure that we update the correct somewhere in the version annotation in the template.
Can we automate that? Like having human remember to do that, it might be error prone.
The updating the version.
Yeah.
I am
think that
all
requires a
open for
review.
the ideas.
Yeah,
What?
I'm open for ideas, but sorry, go ahead, Prakash.
I was just going to say, I think that requires a human review, right? Because it could be a breaking change, or it could be like a metadata change.
Yeah, for sure. I don't mean like no human review. I just mean how do we make sure that the version is always bumped, I guess.
I mean, that depends on like when we update the charts, the version should be bumped. But
You mean when we update the constraint template?
sorry, yeah, when we update the constraint templates, it should be bumped. But however, the source of truth is the rego, so that's a little weird.
Okay, so you're saying there are situations where the digest is different because the template modified, but we don't actually want to bump the version because the rego is the same.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep. I mean, there could be some different things that might get changed apart from Rego, but we still want to reflect that into portal basically. So for example, let's say we update the description, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
There are a few cases.
Should...
Yeah,
Mhm.
like that.
And then let's say you do update the rego and that actually requires a version update. Like as a developer in this case, do I have to create a new folder?
No.
Okay.
All you do is have correct version, or all the user have to do is have correct version in the annotation. And as a reviewer, we should review like correct versions have been bumped. That's it.
Where do I need to put the correct version?
In the annotation in the source of the
Oh, I see.
template.
Got it. In the README.
Yeah, I mean, we could definitely add a CI check for this, and it doesn't have to be this PR, but
Sorry,
you
in
can,
the template file, right?
in the template file. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, got
TMP
it.
So
Sorry.
we could say that, hey, if the rego is changed, then you must change the version.
Yes.
Interesting.
Does that make sense?
Like a validation, yeah.
Yeah. So I guess we could do it on the template actually. If the template is changed, then the version cannot be the same. So we need to parse the YAML, check the version, and then yeah, check if it's different.
Yeah, because as a like, let's say I'm a new contributor, there's no way I would know this. There's no way I would know I need to bump that.
Yeah. I mean, this will be up to the
That's true.
reviewers for now. Yeah.
And even as a reviewer, I may not like, maybe I will miss this, and then now we have like, now it's out of sync essentially. Well, it's not out of sync, but it's not.
I mean,
It's not the
nothing
correct-
will get lost. Yeah. I mean, nothing will get lost, but we'll have to do extra effort in this. Is like open another PR, and then have the correct version and run the directory check again, basically.
Yeah.
But I agree, like some check would be good, so that at least it should fail if we don't pump the version or something like that.
Right. Okay. Yeah, and then also like maybe update the developers doc to make sure they know that they need like, oh, actually, yeah, to make sure they know that they need to bump this.
Yes. So okay, I'll at least add a note to begin with in the README, saying that this new thing, and we need to make sure that we have on pump the appropriate version. And I can actually link the doc also in like a proposal doc because it has the criteria. So
Can you create an issue for this also, Nilek? Just like a CI check for the version thing?
let me do that.
Sort of related to this one. Somebody opened an issue on the library for an OpenShift constraints category. Are we okay to add that? These are like very specific policies for OpenShift.
Yeah.
There's I don't know if we ever have put in the time to get like a coherent story around the library in terms of like the promises around it being recent, right? Which I think is sort of like best effort user contributed is the current state of things. And I would think that having these more specific policy categories is somewhat related to those promises, right? Because that changes the amount of effort associated with having something in the library, right? Like if by nature of a template existing, we're saying like, yes, we're like actively always like making sure that it's current. Having something like OpenShift in there is kind of a problem because one, you'd need an OpenShift cluster to develop it, and two, you are essentially donating time to locking down a specific cloud provider. And I think the time would be best spent elsewhere, but I also don't think that should be our promise with the library. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess also Artifact Hub kind of solves this, right? Because they can always create a new repo and add that to Artifact Hub.
It does. I think there's still benefits. If I were them, there would be benefits in being in the main library as well, right? Because I don't think Artifact Hub is like the point where everyone is going to go to consume this stuff, right? Just realistically, it's as far as I could tell a new thing. I don't know what traction it's going to have if we build other methods of consuming. Who's to say they're going to scrape from Artifact Hub? So if I were OpenShift or someone writing OpenShift policies and I wanted to guarantee the largest audience, I would also want it here, right, in Gatekeeper Library.
But as you said, then it's very specific to that purpose. And like we may not be able to test it because we don't run it on OpenShift, right?
Yeah, okay, so not being able to test it is an interesting point. Again, we need to figure out what our guarantees are for the library before we can even think about making a principled kind of stance here, right? And everything's ad hoc currently. We also need to, if we had something like OpenShift, like that testing question is salient, right? If we're just doing testing with like Gator test to make sure that the unit tests act as they say they should act, that's one thing. If we're trying to do the end-to-end testing, we're trying to maintain that flow that we also are concurrently running, then that becomes an issue. Right, because yeah, then we can't run an OpenShift cluster. I also suspect though that the end-to-end tests, if the library grows too large, they're just going to get very expensive, right? The on cluster testing thing is relatively slow.
Okay, so it sounds like it shouldn't go into the library today, but they can onboard to Artifact Hub if they want, but they should create their own repo for OpenShift policies.
I guess like that's eliding a lot of the part where we have just been dropping the ball. So, it gives them an answer, but not for great reasons. So it doesn't feel great to me, if that makes sense.
Unless they have people who can actually be owners of the OpenShift stuff. Like they're committed to maintain them.
But I mean, they can always create a new repo for that.
I mean, okay, seriously though, what is the guarantee for the library, right? This is we're making a lot of discussion around something that we have no position on, right? So we're putting the cart before the horse here. I'm not saying we need to solve that in the next 3 minutes, but that's the action item that I'm taking from this. Right, you're just giving guidance to users. How fresh do we expect this to be, right? Who's looking at this? Guidance to contributors. What are our criteria for adding something or not? What is there any responsibility in terms of adding something to keep it fresh? All of that is missing. So yeah, I mean, we could say no to putting it in OpenShift for now, pointing to like not having this stuff, but we should really have this stuff. And I know it's just, lack of staffing.
Okay, that sounds good to me. So no for now, basically, until we have an answer.
In the last minute, I do want to make sure I hit this one. It should be quick. Someone's asking for cutting a new release of the cert controller library, basically just adding a tag because there's a PR that is committed. Any objections to doing that?
No.
Cool.
Yeah.
We do have an outstanding PR on the cert controller. Do we want to get that in, or do we want to do it later on?
Is it ready to merge? What's the
This
August 20th. It's like a month ago.
Yeah. But yeah, we can definitely cut a release. Not a problem.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'll look at the PR first just to see if it can be merged. I see no reason not to merge it first.
Because we don't have good tests on cert controller. Looks like we have no tests on cert controller actually.
Oh, there are tests on cert controller. I don't know if there's end-to-end tests, but there's unit tests for sure.
Oh, we do. Yeah. Okay. Why didn't I see them running on the PR then? Weird. Did not run on the PR. It just run the DCO. Weird. Okay, it's running now. Weird.
What the heck? Oh, maybe because a maintainer needs to trigger it.
Yeah, that would.
I mean, usually that one has a button that says approve.
Right.
Yeah,
That's weird. Anyway, so are you gonna do it, Max? Are you gonna push it?
Yeah. The PR.
No,
well,
I mean the new tag.
I'll do the new tag. If we're gonna merge this, it looks like no one else has LGTM'd it either, so we would need 2 + 2s, right? Or
Yeah,
plus 1s or
I added you and me, Max.
okay, cool. Yeah, so I'll wait till end of day to cut the release, just to give you some time. Does that work for you, or is that
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, you can cut the release whenever you want. I mean, this could be in the next one.
okay? Yeah, it's not like would this be a major or a minor, or sorry, a minor or a patch release? Probably a minor release, I'd say. It does
Which
add
one?
an error.
Which one got merged? It's don't produce an error if the one that looks.
So far, it's all minor. We haven't had patch.
Yeah, it's because we so secure.
So minor it is.
Yeah, I think if we get merge this new PR, then it should be a minor. Yeah.
Okay.
Because that's a future, I guess. Cool.
Okay, all right. Talk to you later.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good to see everyone.
Yeah.
Bye.